Hey everybody, Chris here. Welcome back to another episode of Woodmere Estate Revival. I've been down at the pool all evening working on trying to get all this loose concrete off from around the top of the pool because we've got a stone company coming in this week to put in the new coping. We're really excited about that. It's a local company who takes slabs of limestone and cuts them into sections for coping, and then they bulldoze it. And they're going to come in this week and get all that stuff set for us. It's going to look fantastic. Limestone just has that timeless appeal, and it's going to go really well with the concrete apron that we're going to have poured around it later on. So in order to get ready for that, I've had to get all this loose concrete chipped away. I've been using the roto hammer with the chisel bit on it, just knocking all that stuff off and going around the entire length of the pool, getting all that stuff knocked free. There are some areas that the water has really eroded away all of the bonding agent, so the cement's gone. The only thing left is the sand and the aggregate, the pebbles. And so I'm knocking that loose, and I'm actually going to have to screw some form boards to the side of the pool and then pour in some new concrete this evening to go ahead and get that stuff patched up, because that's too big of a space to fill in with either the white Portland cement that we use to set the tile or the mortar that they use to set the coping. So let's take a look and see what I got going on here. All right, so we're standing here next to the pool. You can see that this corner has broken away. I've got the rebar exposed, and I'm going to form up around this corner and then go ahead and pour some concrete in to fill up the edge there, and that rebar will help hold that in place. I'm using a special type of polymer additive with this concrete, and that's going to allow me to get this stuff to bond to the existing concrete. Otherwise it might just chip away. Let's step down in the pool, and you can see really what I've been working on. So this is one of those areas where stuff has just kind of gotten loose. Water's gotten in there, washed out some of the cement, and the stuff is just kind of breaking free. Here's an extreme example. You can see how deep this really goes. So I've exposed all this rebar, and we're going to sand this down, make sure there's no rust underneath it. But I've exposed all that rebar, that way this patch will really get anchored in there. So I'm going to have to screw some form boards to the flats on either side here, and then pour concrete down in there, and that will help to patch all of this. Some of these are fairly shallow defects, and I'm just going to be able to use a little bit of hydraulic cement or even a little bit of white cement that we're actually going to use to affix the tile to seal up some of those areas. Here again, I'm going to have to form up and pour. Here again, we're going to have to form up and pour. Some of these areas are just really deep and washed out, and if we didn't do this right, eventually it would cause some more significant failures. Here again is another example of some of these really deep ones. So you can see the rebar is exposed here and actually going down into the wall there. So we're going to have to, again, screw some boards onto the side here and then pour concrete down in there. Before I can do that, though, I've got to get this entire pool swept up. You can see all the rock and everything that's down in the deep end now. And it's piled up all over the walk boards. So I've got to get all that stuff swept up, shoveled up. And they got the power washer sitting over there. I'm going to have to power wash the entire top of the wall and any of these areas where we're going to have to pour. That's all going to get washed out really well so that the new concrete can stick. So I've got to get that done, and then got to get the form boards cut and screwed on, and then finally we'll mix up some concrete and get that stuff poured in there tonight to let it set before the guys get here to put on the new coping. So as you can see, I've got my hands full here. I'm going to get back to work, and I'll catch up with you guys here in a little bit. So I'm making some good progress. I took the rotor hammer and worked all the way around the perimeter of the pool, got all that stuff knocked loose. Then I took the leaf blower and went all the way around the perimeter of the pool and blew all that dust and everything loose. And now I'm using the pressure washer and going all the way around the perimeter of the pool and washing the entire surface where the coping is going to mount, and then washing all the areas that we're going to patch. Let me show you what we got done so far. So I got my handy dandy 3700 psi pressure washer sitting here, and have been washing all the way around the top of the pool. I shoveled it out before I got started on that, and then they've just been washing it really well, making sure that there's no dirt, no sand, no debris, anything in any of these areas that we're going to patch. So I got about half of that done. Now I got to work my way around the deep well and get the last of that done. So I got to pick the pressure washer up and actually take it down into the pool, since I've got all this area around here tore up from digging all that stuff out so we can do the new plumbing. So it's a mess, but we're going to get back to it here and try to get the last of this stuff pressure washed, so then I can get the forms built. Progress. Well, that's all we're going to get accomplished this evening. As you can see, it's dark now, and I got all the tools picked up, everything back in the house, just pumping the last of the water out of the pool again before I head back home. I was able to get all of the wall power washed, top and side, and got all that loose soil and sand and spalling concrete and all that stuff blasted off of there. And overall, the wall's looking in really good shape. Tomorrow, since I ran out of time today, I'll come back down, build my forms, and go ahead and get the concrete mixed up and poured in place. Hopefully the guys will be able to work around the areas that I'm still having to get finished up, and won't put the masons too far behind on that. I'll be sure to circle back tomorrow and give you guys an update on how everything's coming together. All right, it's day 2. I'm back down here this evening working on getting the form boards screwed to the side walls of the pool, and then I'm going to mix up my concrete patching compound and get that stuff poured into the forms, get it all slicked up and ready to go. Hopefully we'll get all this stuff cured, get the form boards off tomorrow evening, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and apply our coping later on this week. Looking forward to getting this all patched up, slicked up, and ready to go. Take a look here real quick, and I'll show you where I'm starting out. So when I finished up yesterday evening, the entire length of the pool wall on all sides had been power washed and scoured clean. Everything had been chipped off, all the loose cement had been chipped off. Any rebar had been exposed and cleaned up. So as you can see, we've got some voids in the wall here that we're going to have to take care of. I'm getting ready to get some form boards. I'm going to screw those in place using the ledge that used to mark the end of the waterline tile as my mark for the form boards, and we'll get those screwed into place. Then I'll get the cement patching compound mixed up and go ahead and get it troweled into the voids, get them filled up, make sure all the air pockets and everything are out so we get a good hard surface going back for our waterline tile and our coping. So real excited to get this going. I'm going to get started, and we'll catch you guys up here in a little bit. Well, that wraps up another evening around the pool. I was able to get all the forms in place. Got the both sides and the outside corner that I need to pour concrete in. I got all those taken care of. Took me longer than I was expecting. I was really hoping to have time to mix up some concrete and get that poured tonight, but just ran out of time. As you can see, it's nice and dark, and I don't want to mess up the concrete, so I want to make sure that I can see what I'm doing. So tomorrow, come down here after work and get a wheelbarrow of concrete mixed up, get that stuff poured into the forms, get it packed in there good and tight, and let that cure. So hopefully I won't put the stonemasons behind by taking an extra evening to get this done, but I'd rather have it done right than rush it and take a chance on screwing something up and having to rip it out and do it all over again. So I'm going to wrap up for the night, and we'll circle back with you guys tomorrow to get the last of this stuff taken care of. And we are back. This is day 3 down at the pool, and we've been down here working this evening. Actually getting the concrete on today. We got the forming finished up as you saw yesterday, and actually getting the concrete poured in place today, slicked up, smoothed out, looking really good. I underestimated my need for concrete. Amber actually just got back from Lowe's with 2 more 60-pound sacks of concrete, so I think we got enough now to go ahead and get the job finished. Let's show you what we got done so far. So Dad's over here mixing concrete. How's it going, Dad?
Great.
He's always willing to lend a hand. I think he's mixed more than one wheelbarrow full of concrete in his lifetime. You can see the bonding agent we got on top of the wall here that helps the concrete stick. And you can see down this side that we've actually got all of our patches poured in place. And it really looks pretty good. We're not trying to get it perfect. We're just trying to fix any areas that had eroded away, had gotten spalled and loose. And so we got all this area slicked up nicely, got the form boards in place there for the deeper patches. But it looks a lot better and should provide a much more stable foundation for all that new coping that's coming later this week. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of this concrete filled in down this side. We got a form board to fill in behind on this end, and then we actually have a form over here on the corner. This whole corner broke off, and you got a little piece of rebar sticking out there, so we got that chipped out, ready to anchor the new patch. Looking really good. So we're going to get that put in here before it gets dark. I'll circle back with you in a little bit. Well, that's it for tonight. We got all the concrete poured into the forms, and now it's dark again. That's just the way this project goes, working nights and weekends, and unfortunately our days are getting shorter, so we're getting less and less done in the evenings after work. But I'm happy to finally have the concrete in the forms. Got all those rough places slicked up, give it a 24 hours or so to cure, and pop the forms off and see how we did. I'll be sure to circle back with you guys tomorrow and see what everything looks like then. See you soon. All right, here we go. Day 4 on the pool project. Last night, as you remember, we wrapped up by getting the concrete in all the forms, got it all slicked up. Dad came over, gave me a hand mixing concrete and shoveling while I worked it down into the holes and troweled it and got it all smoothed up. Looks pretty good today. We kept it wet today to make sure it cured all right without cracking or having any sort of issues there. So it actually looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and try to pop the forms off this evening and see what everything looks like underneath. Let me give you a quick look around. All right, so here we are. We're starting out in the corner over here, and you can see this is where that whole corner was split out. And I made that form and went ahead and got it framed all the way around the edge there. I had taken an impact hammer and split out around that piece of rebar that was sticking out. That way I could get concrete worked in down around the rebar, and that would help support this corner. We applied a bonding compound to all these areas that we patched. This area was real rough, a bunch of missing concrete here. And then all these areas across here, again, really rough, divots and stuff missing out of the concrete. So put these form boards here and went all the way across here. This corner I built up. It wasn't as bad as the other one, so I didn't actually have to form up for it. I just used a little stiffer mix and applied that. Built that corner back up a little bit. And then all down through here, that's where those really big holes were. All down along here, there was a bunch of deep holes, and we were able to get these form boards on here. I'm hoping, we'll find out here in just a minute, I'm hoping we had good penetration, that the concrete worked all the way down in there and really filled all the voids. I'll find out in just a minute as I take these boards off and see what's going on in behind the forms. Hopefully it's just a few little smaller voids, and then we can fill those in with white cement before we go ahead and get our new waterline tile on. But right now, real pleased with the way this turned out. It's going to provide a real smooth surface for the guys to get started when they lay their nice looking limestone coping all down through here. So let's pop these form boards off and see what it looks like. All right, so here we go. I got all the forms off, and really things look pretty good. Pretty happy with the way they turned out. There are a few voids here and there that I'm going to have to touch up, but like I said, I can use some cement. The same cement we're going to use to go ahead and adhere the waterline tile. And I can use that cement to go ahead and patch things up in a few places where concrete didn't fill in yesterday when we were packing in all the forms. Let me jump down to the pool here and show you what we're looking at from the inside. The forms came off pretty easily, thankfully. You can see there's a few areas concrete just didn't pack in there. But overall, this looks really good. You'll remember this area had a big chunk of rebar sticking out. There was a big undercut area. This area had been significantly compromised, so we got all that filled in. Is it perfect? No, but looks a lot better than what it did. And same kind of stuff here. This was just really compromised. The water was actually overfilled in this pool for a long time, and so there was water getting in between the concrete and the coping, and then freezing during the wintertime, and popping that coping loose, and then getting in the concrete, and then spalling the concrete and eroding the concrete. So for instance, this is an area that the cement has just been kind of eroded away from the aggregate, little pebbles and stuff that are exposed there. So we're going to have to go through and just kind of take a thick mixture of cement and kind of pack it in there. Do that before we get the waterline tile installed. Here's a void that I didn't get filled. So you can see this area, I probably could have chipped this whole thing out and just filled the whole corner, but I didn't. I went ahead and just chipped out this part, hoping I could get it back under here, but it didn't. It left a void there, so I'll have to fill that in with some cement. Same thing here, because this piece was here, I didn't get good fill in this area here. So if I did it all over again, I'd probably do things a little bit differently. Maybe remove things like this so it would be one continuous pour rather than just try to fill in on both sides. But you live and you learn. Overall, real happy with the way things turned out. Again, here's a little area, and I'll just be able to take some a stiff mixture of cement and pack that in there. But again, that was another area where the concrete had completely eroded away and the rebar was exposed. Same thing down here, concrete had completely eroded away and the rebar was exposed. So we got a much smoother surface now, and it's going to provide a much more stable foundation for the new coping. We shouldn't have any problem with it chipping or breaking loose over time. So that wraps up the 4-day marathon on our concrete repair. Now we're finally ready for our stone folks, our masons, to come in here and apply the brand new limestone coping. It's going to look fantastic. Once they get the coping done, then we're going to get their waterline tile ordered. Finally going to reveal which waterline tile we've chosen for the pool. So we'll show you guys that as soon as we get it in. And then I'll finally do some patchwork around the area of the pool where the waterline tile goes in and begin putting the waterline tile on. And then this place is really going to start coming to life. So I got to put the waterline tile on, then caulk between the waterline tile and the coping, and then patch the plaster where it chipped away from where the waterline tile sits. Patch that plaster and then grout the waterline tile. And then finally we'll be ready for paint. Don't know that we're going to get that done this season. We're going to give it a try. And finally we'll get that paint on, and then this place will be ready to get filled back up again. So real exciting stuff coming. Please stick with us. If you're not a subscriber yet, be sure to hit that subscription button so you don't miss a single episode of Woodmere Estate Revival. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Please be sure to leave any questions or comments in the section below. Give us a like if you would, please. And be sure to share the channel with your friends and family. We really appreciate all our subscribers. And thank you guys for hanging in there with us through this project. We'll see you again real soon with another update.